Guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. So my previous subscribers, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video in particular, we're going to be talking about and discussing a subscriber submitted question, specifically by Kathleen Coker 755. To thank you for your question submission. As I did promise here on the YouTube channel, I'm going to be going through a lot of your questions as far back as 7 weeks ago or a little bit longer. And a lot of you guys have submitted your questions. I'm just doing it on a timely basis. However, you asked the question, Chris, can you channel Peter Thiel Palantir technology? That is, if you guys are not familiar, Donald Trump wants to work very closely with Palantir because they want to integrate artificial intelligence recognition surveillance system broadcasted around the entire United States. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to secondly channel that. But before we do begin, this video is just for entertainment and for educational purposes only as well. Anything I do or say in this video is just, again, just for entertainment and for educational purposes only as well. This specific video is being recorded on Tuesday, September 2nd at 9:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as and when I'm recording this video. If you want to help out the channel grow, you can do so by liking, subscribing, hitting the bell icon, engaging with the content, sharing this video with others, really help boost the algorithm here on this YouTube channel. Even better yet, commenting without emojis really is a form of helping out the channel as well. And if you want to stay in the loop and be notified when I do post and upload, you can do two things. You can go into the description or the comment section below, follow my Blue Sky account and my Facebook group, and I will personally notify you when I do post and upload next. Or you can turn on the subscriber bell icon on the YouTube and hit allow all notifications so that you can be notified when I do post and upload next, so you can kind of stay in the loop. But remember that all notification bell icon isn't always reliable, specifically from YouTube, for some weird reason. So that's why I go out of my way to personally notify you, just in case. Anyway, let's go ahead, let's begin. So the way this works is I listen to a meditation music. So if you want to go ahead and listen to this meditation, kind of do it yourself and, submit in the comment section what you yourself do get. So I listen to this meditation. I'm going to tell you right now because it's here. I listen to an Akashic record, psychic ability awareness, opening up my psychic abilities, becoming in a state of receiving any messages because I'm clairaudient, so I hear from my right ear and I just tell you as I speak. Normally when I do this type of stuff behind the scenes, I normally am writing this down, or I'm actually just telling you as I receive it, depending on how I'm doing it. Today we're doing it physically live, or when I mean live, I mean pre-recording. So I'm pre-recording it and just gonna post it. So I'm just going to listen to the meditation music, see what I get, see what kind of information I get. I'm gonna tell you I have no idea about what Palantir is. No idea. I highly doubt I'm gonna pronounce the name correctly throughout the rest of the video. So kind of keep that in mind. I'm probably gonna call it Palantir or something along those lines. Anyway, this video again is being recorded Tuesday, September 2nd at 9:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I'm recording, I hope you guys had a great 3-day weekend and happy Labor Day. Anyway, let's go ahead, let's begin. I'm going to put the meditation music on and we'll see what happens, see what comes about. So I'm going to get into a meditative state, kind of get myself entranced, and I'm going to try to think about Palantir and Peter Thiel to see what messages I get from this, if any. But I know it's a question you want to know, so I'm going to try my best to give you and provide you information. I'm assuming this might be on the shorter end, but we will see. There might be a tarot card. Don't know yet. Stay in the loop. So we'll be there shortly. I'm going to do some meditation too if you guys want to kind of stay in a loop as well. And I'm going to try to use my noise, my sound, to push you deep in a meditative trance as well, in case you want to join me on this journey together, which I see some of you guys already are doing. So get yourself in a very comfortable position. Be in a very calm state of mind. Erase any thoughts from your head. If they do appear, don't try to pay attention to them. Just let them pass through. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. So this hit now allows you to get into a very calm space, a calm mind. It cleanses out any negative energy that you've brought with you to this video and cleanses out any negative entities. So now you should be calm in a very peaceful, resting place. The first thing I saw as I was doing the humming sound and was thinking about Palantir, whatever it's called. I kept seeing like a band around Joe Biden's eyes. I kept seeing that. I knew it was his eyes because he had blue eyes, but I kept seeing blue eyes. Like somebody's face. The Everything else from here was all black. It was like faded out black. But all you could see is the light shine here. That's what it feels like. Palantir. Why? Why am I seeing this? They're saying that this is exactly what Palantir is. It's just the eyes. It's the blue eyes. Why specifically do you choose blue? Blue is not a very common eye color. So they're telling me that the reason why they chose blue eyes was because it symbolized the coldness of the intention behind Palantir's technology, that is cold. The intention when building up the structure, the artificial intelligence structure, was cold. It was not rooted in empathy. It was rooted in coldness, stillness, frozen in emotions. Why were we not allowed to see beyond the eyes? Why were we not even allowed to see the nose or the face? And this person did have a white face as well. This person had a white face. Maybe it wasn't Biden. But maybe it was to give me the sensation that possibly it was starting to kick into gear around the time Biden took office. But I'm seeing white skin. Why did he choose white skin in particular? So they're saying that Palantir, excuse me, is using the technology to not only act as a surveillance, but it's being used as a form of misidentification, misinformation to misalign people, to misdirect people into believing something that isn't there. That Palantir, whatever you call it, that's the intention. That's what it feels like. That's what the blackness feels like. Now, okay, Spirit, now when we start to zoom out Palantir, and we go into Theil, which I really don't know what the guy looked like, but I'm seeing his face here, at least some form of his face. I've seen like a mole. I don't remember if he has a mole or not. But what does the mole symbolize? They're telling me the mole symbolizes internal networking system. That's what it's called. Internal networking system. Also known as INS. INS. So if any of my techies out there, anybody specializes in computer networking, networking frames, tell me, what is INS? Okay, so as I'm looking at his face here, it's on the left side. Why is he on the left and not on the right? They're saying that he uses his left brain. He's left-handed in terms of his brain, which means that he is a righty in the reality sense, but in his brain and inside of his body, he is a lefty. So he uses his left portion of the brain. Interesting. Okay. If if he uses the left side of the brain, what does this indicate to us? They're telling me that he is coldness, that he has sociopathic empathy. That's what it's called. They're telling me that he has sociopathic empathy. I don't know if we know if that's a real word, but that's how they're describing it. They're describing that he, because he uses his left brain, has sociopathic empathy. Let me know in the comment section below if that's even a thing. And if you guys are wondering where I'm getting all this information from, I'm a clairaudient. So they're speaking to me through my completely deaf ear, and I'm just picking up the information and relaying to you as a translator. Okay, so what else do we need to know about Peter Thiel? What is his deal with Donald Trump? What if he put Donald Trump? Let's see Donald Trump. Okay, so I'm seeing Donald Trump, he's waving like this. Why is Donald Trump waving? They're saying that Donald Trump is not waving to me, he's waving to Peter. Okay, why is he waving to Peter? They're saying that because they're friends. Okay, so if they're friends, why are they doing that? They're saying that they're a networking friendship. Okay, so then tell me, what is the ambition? What does Donald Trump benefit? Because Donald Trump never does anything that doesn't benefit him. So what does Donald Trump benefit by having Peter Thiel as a networking friend? So they're saying that one of the benefits that Donald Trump gets from having Peter Thiel being a networking friend is simply rooted in the fact that Donald Trump wants the idea that he can control how people think in the United States. So Peter Thiel came up with a system to ensure that only those who are approving of Donald Trump's administration will outwardly have the ability, will have the power to influence and to be able to say how great the administration is and how great Donald Trump is. So it's more about flattery. That's what it feels like. Okay, so now that we know what Donald Trump is and what the motive here in Yamal, what does what does Peter Thiel benefit from having a networking relationship between Donald Trump? Can you tell us a little bit more about this? And I'm seeing him drinking whiskey. He's like drinking alcohol, like a big brown square bottle here, right? And it has a little tip, and he's just chugging it down as I'm asking him the question. Why do you chug that whiskey? Why? Why do you chug it? And I see him like, he's having like a hard time swallowing, as he is benefiting from this in some way. So why are you doing that? Why are you having a hard time swallowing when I ask you, what do you benefit between the relationship between you and Trump? So they're saying that Peter Thiel cannot take him. They cannot take the relationship, so it's not mutual. Donald Trump has a lot to benefit, and Donald Trump actually sees him as a beneficiary. But when it comes to Peter Thiel's perspective, he sees Donald Trump as something that he does not want to deal with, but something he has to do in order to achieve a desired goal. So what is that goal? What is Peter Thiel's goal? Why is he drinking and drowning out his opinions and emotions about Donald Trump in order to achieve the goal? What is that goal? What is your goal? He's saying that my goal is simple, control. That's all his goal is just to control. Okay. And what about your CEO? Who's the one who runs Palantir? Who is the CEO of that? Palantir Technology. Where is the CEO? You're here. Okay, so he's waving. Why are you waving at me? Okay, so Palantir Technologies, the CEO of that company, organization, he's told me that he's not waving to me, he's waving to Donald Trump, which means that they make a triangle. Why are you waving to Donald Trump? So it turns out Peter Thiel has to deal with the dynamic of the situation. He has to swallow his emotion. He has to bottle his emotion. While the CEO of Palantir is best friends and on great terms with Donald Trump. They seem very friendly. The guy himself said it, that he's very friendly with Trump. Okay, so what do you benefit from the relationship between the networking relationship between Peter Thiel and Donald Trump? What do you benefit? So here is what the CEO said. The CEO said essentially he benefits from being with Donald Trump, and he is a beneficiary to the relationship, the business relationship between both Peter Thiel and Donald Trump, because as long as he is showing some sort of growth within the company or Palantir technology, he will be remaining on as CEO, and by doing so, it lines up his pocket, which means that he will receive a higher paycheck every year that he stays on as CEO, as long as the company sees adequate growth with its investors. That's what it comes down to. So for the CEO of Palantir, it's about money. For Peter, it's about control. And for Donald Trump, it's about ensuring there's flattery to ensure that nobody criticizes him. That is the MO here. And they're all in the shape of a triangle. And why geometrically did they choose a triangle, Spirit? Because they're telling me here that somebody's in the center. And it feels very much like, you ever seen the Illuminati eye? That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Peter Thiel's on the left side, the CEO on the right, Donald Trump in the top center point, and there's somebody in the center. And they represent the all-seeing eye, all-knowing, all-seeing eye. So who is in the center, Spirit? Who is in the center of Palantir? Who's in the center? So they're saying that within the three community network, with these three people right here, we have Peter Thiel, the CEO, and Donald Trump. We have this triangle base, right? But in the center of that, the thing that represents the eye, you're seeing, all knowing, represents a secret organization that is operating between this umbrella. And Spirit is telling me that it cannot be disclosed by me. I cannot be the one to disclose this. But there is a secret undercover organization that is running this show. So, okay, Spirit, okay, if that's the case, since we don't know exactly who the secret organization is, what is the MO? What is their goal as they represent the eye of the triangle? They're showing me a pyramid. So you see a triangle, right? But imagine that being four-dimensional, right? It has all corners at the sides, and they represent the pyramid. And on the top of the pyramid is where they stand. And I'm seeing somebody go out there with their arms on both sides, just like Jack and Jill in Titanic. Go out there with their arms stretched so far and wide. What does that symbolize? Why specifically the pyramid? And why the tippy point with the arms spread out? They're saying that it means invincibility, that they are untouchable, that no one can touch them. So, okay, if that's the case, and if this is the case, then what the whole thing is, what the whole point of it? Because if you have a four-dimensional pyramid, and you have each corner, you have one here with the Peter Thiel, you have the CEO, you have Donald Trump, and you have one missing corner, the fourth corner. They're saying the fourth corner represents artificial intelligence, and together they erect an order. They erect an order. Okay, what is this order? What does Palantir really do? Or Planetaire, whatever you want to call it. What do they do together when it's co-joined with all this? What does it do? What's the intention? Manipulation. The intention when you combine all four together, plus the tippy very point, being symbolized as a secret organization, is symbolizing manipulation. Okay, and so how would this be used? Because now that Donald Trump has blatantly said that he planned to use Palantir publicly and assault them across the United States, what does this mean for the United States going forward? All they said to me was surveillance state. And will this succeed or will this fail? They're saying they cannot stay at this time. And why do you say you cannot say it at this time? Why can't you say it? They're saying that there's unknown variables still at play, which means that this is not determined just yet. Our future is still very much in flux when it comes to Palantir. They're saying that the future is not determined. There's paths, but not determined. And as I'm seeing the paths, I'm seeing that each one is in a mine shaft, going in a Grand Canyon hill. And each one takes them into a lower shaft. But each one, so there's three ways, three paths to go. But each one goes straight and make a left turn into this dark cave. But each one is almost acting as a shelf, which means that each path is a little bit higher than the one before it, but lower than the one after it. So for example, 1, 2, 3. That's how it feels. And as each one is going into the black tunnel, the mine shaft, the mine shaft is going in, and the mine cart is trying to roll, but it's empty. There's no one there on the third path. There's nothing there, it's just an empty path. So let's go into the second level. What is on the second one? I'm seeing two people with their hands up, saying we, they're jiggly, they're happy, they're joyful. And then somebody says, uh-oh, and then the ride collapses and crashes down, which means that there wasn't a bridge that leads into the hill or into the cave. There was no structure. It was broken before it reached the cave, but you couldn't see it because as the turn went around into the dark cave, it was too late for you to try to stop the minecart, and they went over the bridge and died. That is the second path. The first path indicates high speed. I'm seeing grouped and large amount of mine shafts rushing through the first layer, and people running through, going in with the mine shaft at such a rapid pace, you couldn't even see what's in the minecart. That's how fast these minecarts are going, and they're rapidly going. So the first path is high speed, moving without any obstacle. The second one indicates that there is an obstacle, and it comes to a complete utter halt. The third path indicates a sense of slowness but emptiness in the mine shaft. But there doesn't seem to be a blockage, but seems to be a very slow process. So if anything, if I was to assume anything based off of these images, I would say if you were Palantir, and you were the CEO or Peter Thiel, you would want the number one path because that indicates the path of these physicians. If you had to choose and you didn't have the number one path, but you had to only choose between the second path and the third path, I would choose the third path because that is the path of, even though there's an obstacle, there is some sort of movement. There's still some sort of progress. But the first one is definitely the better one. But the second path indicates the worst scenarios for any outcome for Palantir Technologies. The worst case scenario for Peter Thiel, Donald Trump, and the CEO. Okay, in spirit, if you were to show me the likeliest path of them all, what is the path that Palantir Technologies, the United States, Donald Trump, Peter Thiel, and the CEO of Palantir, what path are they likely to take? I'm hearing number 3. It's the likeliest path that they are going to be on. Okay, so we're going to hop onto that minecart. We're going to put all those characters on the minecart. Okay, I've seen them going in. They're all in one big minecart, but they're all going in. They're making a turn. And all of a sudden, this is what I see. As they make that turn onto the third path, Once they enter the cave, it drops straight down like that. And it goes rushing down all the way. But it doesn't mean that there isn't, what's it called? Isn't a whale. There is a whale, and they're going down that whale, but they're going at such a low velocity that it almost feels like after a while. You ever see, like, for example, if you were to take a penny and throw it off the Empire State Building, after a while it reaches the point of the highest velocity point, and then at that point it doesn't increase the velocity, it just maintains that gravitational pull down to its eventual ground, and until it hits the ground eventually. But it hits a certain amount of velocity, then it just feels very stagnant and slow. And that's what it feels like. It feels like they go very fast down, and then they hit the highest velocity point, and it just feels very slow. It's going at the same pace, but very slow because the velocity is not being increased. It is going at the same pace all the way down. Then all of a sudden, I see a big turn, and it goes up, and it makes a hill. It goes up, and make the hill. Each time they're going up back higher and higher. They're going higher, they're going higher, and then they go crashing down. But then they reach a plateau. They were higher than the lowest point, but definitely way further down than the highest point. And they're on this path, and they're going straight, and then they're making sharp turns like this. They're making very sharp turns. So it feels like it's just going to be a very bumpy ride. It looks like a very bumpy ride. Is there anything else that we have to look at? No, because I'm seeing the next thing is after all those bumpy turns, they hit right into a wall. And it stops the minecart, and it goes backwards. It goes backwards. But the thing is once they go backwards, they have to maintain that velocity. Because here's the thing, is that when you have a very low point, but you don't have the manpower, because minecarts operate using velocity and speed. But imagine this, they can go back and forth at such a rapid pace, reverting back to, after hitting that wall, reverting back up these hills and going back down to the lowest point, but there isn't enough energy, isn't enough velocity to push it up that big deep slope, which means that it remains stuck on the lowest point. So it does feel like Palantir Technologies, the CEO Donald Trump and Peter Thiel reached a very low point in the end. What does that mean? We don't know. But that's what it feels like. It feels like there's going to be a lot of bumpy rides. They're going to be up and down. It's going to feel like as if they're going to reach the highest peak, but then they plateau and they go through this very sharp turn, and then it goes all the way back up and hitting a wall, but then they end up sitting along the lowest point in the entire journey. That's all I get. So that is all that I get in terms of Palantir, Peter Thiel, Donald Trump, and the CEO, and the Secret Society. Alright guys, thank you. Actually, you know what, let's do some tarot card readings on that. I think that would be really interesting to really see. You guys let me know, of course, what you get if you were participating with yourself, or if you were a visionary and you were able to see what I saw. Really curious to see if you guys participated or not. Okay, so Spirits and Angels, tell me, based off of these Psychic Challenge with Peter Thiel and Palantir, would you like to explain some of the messages that was being shown to me in this psychic channeling? Okay, so it's definitely saying that there is an ending coming for Palantir technology. There needs to be a sense of a reboot, it feels like. But here you have is the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords, it came about when a lot of technologies were being formulated back in the early 2000s with, like, I'm seeing specifically Facebook. I'm seeing like this type of energy when Facebook was being formulated, around that time frame, this was also being formulated. You can look that up online, that's not a psychic prediction, but this card is hinting back to that time frame, talking about its origin. This is the Ace of Swords reversed. Underneath the Ace of Swords, we have the Three of Swords here. It means betrayal, it means the trio. I don't know if there's 3 people involved in the creation of Palantir technology, but there is a sense of betrayal between the 3 of them. It doesn't feel like they're all on the same page in terms of its usefulness. It doesn't feel like there are in terms of the same motive or energy, which makes a lot of sense because when you start to look at the CEO and Peter Thiel, their motive, their idea is drastically different. One is about money, the other is about control. The next card is about the moon card reverse. The moon card is revelation, reveal. Revelation. If something is being set into motion now, this is the current present. Something is being set in motion. And it feels like there's underhanded deal that's going on. Again, keep in mind this video is just for entertainment, for educational purposes only as well. But there's underhanded deal. It does feel like there's a movement here, but it's behind the scenes. There's someone paying to almost like inflate the projection of Palantir technology. And here you have it, the Justice card. The scales just aren't correct. The scales are not correct. And underneath the Page of Wands here, the Page of Wands means new opportunity, new direction, new purpose. Right? Finding his path. And what's in the background? The pyramids. We talked about the pyramids before and its intention. And the Page of Wands comes in. And the Page of Wands symbolizes the growth and opportunity. But there needs to be a sense of new direction. And here's the Death card. It will come towards an end, of course, but something new will emerge. A phoenix, right? Something will emerge from the ashes. So what will emerge? This makes a lot of sense to think about it. They go through this entire journey taking the third path, the lowest level possible, the slowest path. But they end up hitting a wall eventually. And they go all the way back and end up hanging around the slowest slope, the lowest point of the entire journey. And here you have it, the Wheel of Fortune, which means going backwards. You go forward, but then you go all the way backward. It's exactly what the Wheel of Fortune is saying. We have here as well with the Ace of Wands. They have to hand over the technology to somebody. Somebody's going to be forcing Palantir's technology to be handed over to someone. And they're going to lose rights to it. 4 people are going to lose the right to Palantir technology. It's an artificial intelligence agency, specifically it's used for surveillance. And here you have it, the Fool card. Because they weren't very cautious about what they were doing, the intention was so brazenly open that it became obvious about what their intentions were. And underneath here you have the Queen of Pentacles, meaning that they're no longer going to get money from people who are going to be creating contact with them because of a scandal that's going to emerge with Palantir. On the top of the deck, though, we have the government, the U.S. government, the Hierophant, or any government for that matter that institutes this. It's going to be integrating Palantir at such a very slow rate that it will cause Palantir to go into debt. And therefore, the 3 of Cups comes in reverse. Palantir ends up going to debt. That's probably why they have to reach this lowest point and they go all the way up. It might be indicated they might have to there's a transition period, and maybe that transition period for countries to switch over from not as much surveillance to a surveillance state take time. It doesn't happen overnight, and that's kind of like what it indicates. It indicates that Palantir takes time. The question is can Palantir have enough funding to run the course, to be able to ensure that they're able to stay alive and afloat long term, while these countries start to reboot the nation with surveillance-type technology. Is there anything else that you would like to say in terms of Palantir being a surveillance state being used by Donald Trump and Peter Thiel? Would you like to say anything on that matter? They want me to use this deck, so we're going to take a look at this. Okay, so Peter Thiel, Spirits and Angels, tell me, I'm seeing a secret society in my third eye, but there's no deck for secret society in the tarot card deck, unless there is. Oh my god, I know exactly what deck to use. It's the Illuminati deck. We'll use that in a minute. So Spirits and Angels, tell me, I'm seeing Illuminati in my third eye, so it has to be something like that. Okay, so Spirits and Angels, oh, there it is. So we have the Two of Cups. What is the relationship between Donald Trump and Peter Thiel and Palantir Technologies? It's the Two of Cups. Best friend, best buddies. They're both doing similar goals. Here you have is the Nine Coins reverse. It's going to destroy people's ability to feel like they're not being watched. You ever notice about companies or corporations, specifically bosses, where they are always on high alert and they're always watching their employees through the camera, even when the boss is not there, and the productivity goes down because they feel like they're being watched and people start hating the idea of being watched. That's what this card is indicating. Nine of Coins reverse. It's indicating that all your words, all your productivity, all your movement, your energy dissipates, your life force, your passion dissipates with that. And here you have it, the 10 wands here, which means that, yeah, there is going to be some obstacles, and there is some obstacles. And the whole idea of Palantir and Donald Trump is to build steps so that other people cannot climb. It's supposed to be leaving others behind, but I can be able to get up. So I can rise up, but you can't. That is what this means. The Ten of Wands here is indicating that Palantir is being used as a form to lift those up who are already up on a ledge, who already have an edge, and to ensure that those who need extra assistance, extra help, can never get up those stairs, can never get up to a higher level. This was designed to keep people on the bottom level, to make sure that they never progress upwards. We also do have here, we have the Seven of Swords. Empty promises. I'm hearing empty promises. But there is somebody coming that's going to challenge this. There's somebody coming who's going to challenge all this eventually. And she's going to start talking about how we all been screwed. How, the reality of it. And it's like, I told you so. I told you about this. I warned you about it. I told you. That's what I'm hearing. And here you have it, underneath the Two of Cups here and the Nine of Coins reversed, you have the Magician. The magician is just gotta know where to look. The obvious is already there, but you just gotta know where to look. It's saying here, don't pay attention to the scientist, don't pay attention to the creator. Pay attention to its intention. What was Palantir and Donald Trump doing together? Their intention was obvious. It's the Scorpio and the mouse that indicates the predator and the prey. Its intention wasn't to direct you to a scientific experiment, no. Its intention was to keep you down, to control you by indicating there's a predator nearby always watching you, a predator willing to strike you when you do the wrong thing, or willing to strike you because maybe you don't fit the narrative that it poses or what it wants. And here you have is underneath this Nine of Coins reversed and the Ten of Wands upright, which indicates that preventing people from getting to a higher plane of existence or higher level or progressing in their lives. You have here 27, which indicates an oil spill. It indicates environmental disaster. It indicates disaster for people's lives. It's when you mix fire and water. Why is it so dangerous? Why is it dangerous to combine the fire element and water element? Well, because water is very destructive when it is being used because it's a shape-shifting element. But so is fire. Fire is not as shape-shifting as water, and that's absolutely right. And there's no sense of fire where it's calm and still and you can enjoy it without ever getting hurt. But water can. Now the difference between water and fire, water represents the emotion. It's being pulled on by the moon every 28 days. You become very emotional. But the fire though, the fire is your passion, it's your drive, it's your productivity, it's your thought, it's your creativity. It's what drives you to keep living, to survive. When you combine the element of water and fire, you get a very strong sense of heightened in emotions, but you're driven with passion. You're like a madman. And that is why you're dipped in oil, because you just cannot see what's in front of you, because you've been dipped in so much oil, there's such black oil, that even though you've been in the water just cannot seem to wash away this anger, this disruptive feeling, That's what it feels very much like. And the next card is that even though this is the Ten of Wands here, you do have the Seven of Swords. And the Seven of Swords means I told you so. And here you have is the Queen of Coins. Queen of Coins is that you didn't get this. You didn't get the message. But instead of you not getting the message, I'm going to have to show you the message. This is the message that I'm telling you. The thing is that we're not sure yet. Is this an actual woman or is this an actual person telling you, I told you so? Or is this somebody who is spiritually saying, I told you. I warned you. What is the bottom of the deck here? You have the Five of Swords here. What is Palantir technology doing? Is creating a surveillance state. Why? Because you have the Empress. The woman is sitting down thinking, scared, what have I done? What have I done? You can see this face. She's not seeing happy, right? Even though she's on camera, this person doesn't look happy. This is the Statue of Liberty redressed, remodeled, reframed. Instead of her being a symbol of liberty and freedom and breaking no chains, instead you have the Empress here. The Empress is simply symbolizing beautification, image, projection. But you can see the face. That's not love. But what's underneath that? You have the Three of Cups. These are people, despite the odds, all coming together to celebrate something more beautiful than oneself. It's the idea that not only are these two people the same, they're also so different. One is the darker complexion, the other one's the lighter complexion. Right? And this means that people are one. This is what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be about this. Look how beautiful this is. But we didn't get that. We got this instead. We got a remodeled version of liberty. Because we were not able to see what was in front of us, and therefore we had to see it when we lose it. In order to really appreciate what you have in front of you, you need to lose it all. And I think that goes for everybody. I think a lot of people have forgotten how much we took life for granted, how much we took our freedom for granted. And unfortunately, it's being knocked. But the fact that people have forgotten how much their ancestors fought for freedom, whether you're Native American, whether you're African American, whether you're Irish, German, Jewish, Italian, Mexican, Latino. Everybody had to start somewhere. Even women had to start somewhere. Because it simply goes back to the truth. People got comfortable. They thought that once they achieved it, that they can always keep it. Not realizing that freedom is not something that is willingly given to the next generation. You have to continuously fight to keep it. Once you get it, doesn't mean that's when the fight's over. That's when the fight needs to continue. Because you won. You won. But at what cost? And unfortunately, this is the cost. This is the outcome. People lost. People got complacent. People got subsided. And unfortunately, this is our reality. But Spirit is saying it's not reality forever. But it teaches a lesson. A lesson that not only that we need to learn, but also for others specifically need to learn a lot more. They need to learn to accept the fact that people in lives are people. That they need to accept that others are human. Easier said than done. But people have such a strong trouble understanding the value of other person's life. And that is what Palantir, Peter Thiel, and Donald Trump are doing. They're devaluing a person's life at the expense of one's personal beliefs. And using any way to be able to hammer in on that projection. And that is why Palantir and Peter Thiel and Donald Trump and the CEO are so brazenly open about the intention behind all this. That this is the truth. Peter Thiel is all about control, Donald Trump is all about image, projection, flattery, and the CEO is all about money. You combine them all, and you get a secret organization that is controlling the entire process. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and the bell icon. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, peace out. I love you. And thank you for your submission.